I really wanted to spend a little bit of time specifically for our listeners talking about a concept that has impacted me so wonderfully from your book, The Care of the Soul. And the theme that resonates throughout the entire book is cure versus care. When I told a friend of mine this morning that I had a conversation set for 9 o'clock, I shared with him the care of the soul and told him that the wonderful thing about it was, and forgive me if this is incorrect, but the origin of the word psychotherapy and the Greek psyche and therapos is something like the soul, and therapos being care, but in the sense of like caring for someone who's terminally ill, in the sense that you're showing up and attending to the needs, not really with the idea that you're going to get them on the other side without sickness. And
Right.
how starkly different that idea of nursing and caring for a soul as it shows up in life, how starkly different that is from psychotherapy, the way we understand it today, which is cure me so I can get on with it.
That's right. Yes, absolutely. That's at the beginning of Care of the Soul. And I thought of writing that book. First of all, I realized I was aware that the word psychotherapy does, and from its Greek roots, are exactly care, soul, care of the soul. So I thought maybe this, I mean, I thought really in a very extravagant way that care of the soul could replace the idea of therapy as we know it. Uh, in psychology, too, psychology has those similar roots. Psyche is there, soul, and the logos, psychology has psyche and logos. And logos really means mystery, the mystery. So if I do psychology, I'm talking about the mystery of the soul.
What was the logos? Sorry, I was making a quick note when you said that.
Logos means mystery. I mean, that's not to explain logos, it would take quite a while. It's a big
Sure.
word,
Yeah, let's.
but it means a lot of things. But it essentially, as I look at it, means maybe a mysterious understanding of things, like understanding the mystery of the psyche would be a definition of psychology from its roots. So it's
Understanding
all
the
about
mystery of understanding the mystery of the psyche.
of the
It's a
psyche.
in itself is somewhat of an oxymoron, but it settles in your soul quite well.
That's right. That's right. You can't understand it, but you don't so that's why it's not a good. What I just said is probably not accurate to say you can't understand the mystery. It means, but there is a kind of logos means that the world makes sense, that there's some order in the world. That's one meaning of the word logos. And another meaning for it is that we have in ourselves the capacity to grasp that order that's out there.
To
That's the
understand it.
traditionals, but that word's been used that way for at least 2 or 3 thousand years. So, so this is profound stuff. We talk about psychotherapy and psychology. These are profound ideas, but we have reduced them to kind of academic disciplines and methods, and it's
Yeah,
much more than that.
it strips the way that I've learned psychotherapy growing up in America, along with our medical system. It does strip the wonder, the curiosity out of the process of being healthy, and the obsession that we have with feeling better. It makes us skip the reality of the pain we feel and the message that it carries. Something that sticks with me from your work that's helped me so much is the space and the acceptance of emotions and experiences, not as something to be fixed. Depression, may not be something to be fixed as much as it is a part of your experience that could be welcomed, sat with, and experienced deeply. And and it's interesting to me how there's a different level of responding to that appearance of a negative, emotion. Is you can either fix it and suppress it, take an antidepressant. You could drink some extra coffee, go out for drinks a little more often than you ought to, and you could dull that pain, or you can allow it to show up in its entirety and maybe not heal it, but understand the origin of that darker emotion. And just because of that, maybe at that point, that is the caring of the soul. That's not that you're not depressed anymore, but I understand it on a deeper level, which makes me oddly feel a lot better.
Yes, one of the big issues, themes that I learned from my friend James Hillman, who was a wonderful psychologist, um, is that there are a lot of things going on in the psyche at the same time. He called it psychological polytheism,
Hmm.
referring to the Greek mythology where the gods, each of the gods and goddesses has a certain part of life that they empower. And so that's an interesting thought in regard to what you're saying, though, because I think it's possible to try to listen to your symptom, if it's depression or jealousy or
Hmm.
uh, I don't know, whatever it is,
Anger.
anger. Yeah, that could be anger. A lot of these things we have to deal with. At the same time, we could listen to it and really hold it and see what it wants from us. I think it's a good question. What does this pain want from us?
Wonderful question.
Some change or some understanding or something it wants from us. At
Do you
the
think
same
that?
time, at the same time, we can want it to go away. That's what I'm saying. It's polytheistic. You can want it to go away, and you don't have to resolve that. You don't have to choose one or the other. You can live both.
Do you think that Do you think it's possible that, depression might want you to make some shifts in your life? Maybe that's what it wants. Do you think it ever just wants to be noticed, just
Yes.
seen?
Well, I think depression is something that for most people is probably most people is one of the many moods that we can get into. Then there are reasons for being depressed. Many of my friends today, and myself too, are depressed over what's happening in world politics, national politics, and in the world.
Hmm.
Wars that we have now that feel so discouraged that we're still doing that kind of thing and still having to deal with it,
Yeah.
and still have these leaders that don't have any humanity in them, and we still have that, and it's discouraging and depressing for a lot of people. On the other hand, some people are depressed and they don't know why. They just feel depressed. Others have a like an illness of depression.
Yeah.
It's really something that has got a hold of them, and it may take years for them to work it through.
Hmm.
But I say work it through. The way I would work it through is to listen to it, hold it, and not just have an intention of trying to cure it. That's what I'm talking about, polytheism. You say, I need to experience this. At the very same time, I wish it would go away.
I think about a child crying in the back seat, and you going, I wish I could get rid of this. If it was your child, you wouldn't want to just stop at the next stoplight and throw it out. You, it's important to get to have it, to hold it, to nourish it, and at the very least, just be there.
That's certainly true. So yes, you want to hold that, and maybe that's a good example. I don't know
Hmm.
of having something, yeah, something in your sphere, in your world, in
Yeah.
yourself that is very difficult, and you would like to get rid of it, but at the same time, you realize this is natural. It's part of the ups and downs of life, and I can't just keep getting rid of everything.
Yeah. Is that the beginning of maturity, of spirituality? What is it that once someone makes that decision in their mind that, okay, you know what, I'm not going to get rid of the things that are painful and difficult. I'm going to create more space so that they can come up. What process does that begin for someone on a psychological, spiritual, soulful?
Well, there are probably several processes. One that comes to my mind, it's a bit complicated. I'll start by saying that one of the things that people have to do in life is to separate from their family of origin, from their early childhood. They have to make a separation so they don't keep living with those same infantile understandings of things. There's a lot of child thinking going on, and that is not useful. We have to be adults, so that's one thing. But there's something similar where we live in a society that creates a mythology for us. It creates a story, a narrative that we all live unconsciously. We don't think much about it, but we live it. Like modern life, we live. And part of the modern mythology is if you're having any pain, get something to take to get rid of it. If it can be compressed into a pill, that's like having a mythology pill. It's like you get, instead of separating from the narrative that you're living, that's quite woven into our culture and therefore quite unconscious as we participate in it. We look for something to get rid of just the sensation of not being happy living that myth.
Mm.
So I think there's a separation needed both from our family background and from the culture in which we live. Not entirely and not like a complete, not a complete denial of it or separation, but maybe when I was used to be a monk, we used to say as a monk you have to resist the world. They call it contemptus mundi, which means resistance to the world. We're in this community of monks now because we want to be in the world, but we also want to resist being totally absorbed by it. We
Is
want to try a different life.
Do you say that that starts the process of individualization from your family or your culture
Yeah,
because you're able to feel the soul's response to some of the institutions or some
yeah,
of the dogmatic, some of the things that are handed to you heavily? If you allow yourself to feel the pain that is a response to that, then you can begin to create change in your own world. And if you're not willing to feel the pain of it, then you're not able to connect with where you're truly being hurt.
yes, that's certainly true. That it's one way. I think there are other ways, but one way of separating is to feel the discomfort and pain and
Mm,
disorientation, a lot of things that we feel that aren't
mm.
working. We don't usually blame the society. We usually blame ourselves or most likely blame our parents. But I think the society is largely at fault, which means that we have to have a relation to our culture that is complex, where we accept some things and don't accept others.
If you like that short clip, make sure to check out the full episode.